The life of an entertainer can be very demanding. Not only are you expected to entertain the people, but certain people also expect you to use your platform to speak on certain topics, including those that can be political in nature. Some opt out because damned if you do and damned if you don't. Then there's individuals that believe sport figures and entertainers should do just that, entertain and play sports. Comedian Dick Gregory chose the more outspoken route and didn't waver to the shut up and dribble mentality, even if it could have possibly cost him his life. And that was what made it even more apparent the time that his life seemed to have been threatened by the director of Federal Bureau of Investigation, J. Edgar Hoover. Here's why J. Edgar Hoover plotted to kill Dick Gregory. Dick Gregory was not only a star on stage and screen, but he was also known for the political activism, shining light on issues like civil rights, feminism, and so much more. Gregory's career in politics started in 1967 when he ran for mayor of Chicago against Richard Daley. Gregory did not win, but it was not the end of his participation in electoral politics. A year later, Gregory decided to run for president of the United States as a write-in the candidate of the Freedom and Peace Party. During his presidential racial strife was splitting cities, anti-war protests being held on college campuses, so Gregory did what he did best, traveled the country mixing jokes and politics. And as you can already guess, that didn't go so well with everyone. And enters J. Edgar Hoover. J. Edgar Hoover was a law enforcement administrator who served as the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, where he remained for a total of 37 years until his death in 1972. He was known for being instrumental in the founding of the FBI and turning it into a much larger crime-fighting agency. Hoover has also been credited with creating and expanding a national blacklist referred to as the FBI Index or Index List, now known as the Terrorist Screening Database, which the FBI continues to manage. Hoover didn't take too kindly when Dick Gregory joked that if he became president, he'd paint the White House black. He also critiqued the two-party system and called it obsolete. This immediately became a threat in addition to criticizing the president and publicly talking about Hoover's own habit of using opponents' sex lives against them. This led to a memo in which Hoover urged the special agent in charge in Chicago to neutralize Gregory, adding that sophisticated, completely untraceable means of neutralizing Gregory should be developed. In response, Special Agent Marlon Johnson wrote, "Chicago has continued to give the matter of discrediting Gregory top priority." The Chicago outfit was an Italian-American organized crime syndicate that was established in the 1910s, which also was a part of the larger Italian-American mafia. The outfit was the most powerful, violent, and largest criminal organization in Chicago and the Midwest as a whole. Their reach spanned to California, Florida, and Nevada, and they continue to operate throughout the Midwest United States, Southern Florida, Las Vegas, and some parts of the Southwestern United States. Due to higher law enforcement attention, the group has had a gradual decline since the 20th century, though it continues to be one of the major and most active organized crime groups in the Chicago metropolitan area and the Midwest. According to the Washington Post, back in 1978, after an appearance at UCLA, Hoover sent a memo to Martin W. Johnson, the head of the Chicago FBI office, telling him to develop counterintelligence measure to neutralize Gregory. Gregory would often have run-ins with law enforcement and the Democrats in Chicago in the 1960s, including Gregory being arrested at multiple sit-downs and protests. Gregory has traveled all over the country preaching black nationalist extremism, hatred, and violence. Gregory uses his reputation as a comedian to ensure his vitriolic statements are reported by the press. He's made personal attacks on the President of the United States and Director of the FBI and on FBI agents. Being cautious, Hoover demanded that the agency's plan should not be in the nature of an expose since he already gets far too much publicity. Hoover came up with the idea to tell members of the mafia at the time known as the Syndicate that Gregory was making negative comments regarding them. All this after Hoover had previously been on record denying that the existing organized crime was not a thing. In a 2017 article published by Injustice Watch, Rob Warden, a legal affairs journalist in Chicago, revealed that he made a Freedom of Information request of the 13,000 pages of documents related to the FBI counterintelligence operations against African Americans in 1960s. And within those pages detailed Hoover's plot to neutralize Gregory. Warden contacted Gregory and Gregory asked him to show the documents when he'd be passing through Chicago. While reading, Gregory shook his head and said, "Do you realize what you have here? This piece of paper has the director of the most powerful police agency in the history of the planet proposing to contact the mafia so they could work together. Look, if the FBI was going to contact La Cosa Nostra, and if the FBI knew who they were, why weren't they arrested? What I was saying was that one day we were going to find out that one of the most dangerous men in this country was J. Edgar Hoover. And we would probably find out that Lyndon B. Johnson was one of the worst tyrants. It was never actually proven that the Bureau had successfully reached the organized crime organization, and it was more than unlikely. The memos on the plan wouldn't become public until after the death of Hoover in 1972. When asked in 1978, Johnson told the Washington Post, "I don't remember anything, and even if I did, I couldn't say anything, because I'm still bound by my oath of office not to disclose anything we did." Gregory would ultimately receive 1.5 million votes in his presidential election campaign, which was not enough to win. However, his run did bring light to much-needed attention to the failings of the current electoral system, and help gain attention to the new left and Black Power movements. Gregory also found himself on President Nixon's political opponents list and released a book entitled Write Me In, a memoir about his experience in politics in 1968. So, what do you guys think? Do you think there was any real attempt to neutralize Gregory? Did you or anyone you know vote in the election during Gregory's run? Let us know in the comment section below. Stay up to date with the latest in news and comedy by subscribing here to our YouTube channel and follow Comedy Hype on all social media platforms. And look out for original content on our new streaming service at comedyhype.com. For Comedy Hype News, I'm Symphony Thompson.